Welcome everybody to the 2016 Municipal User Group. I'm David Buehler, if you don't know who I am. I'm the City of Marshfield's GIS Coordinator. Some general announcements before we begin. If you haven't already signed in or initialed next to your name and confirm your lunch order, please do so now, and also choose your drink. Bathrooms are that way or that way. There are classes going on, so please be quiet in the halls. Our venue is provided by Mid-State Technical College, and Brewpub West 14th, it'll be our lunch venue. Some things before we begin. We're in full planning mode for 2017's WLA Annual Conference. So we're going to ask people to present because this is our tract here. So if you feel the urge to present or know somebody that would be willing to present or a cool topic that you want us to try to run down, tell Adam Dorn or I, and we'll try to we'll add it to the queue. And then kind of like we did lightning talks last year at the end. We're going to try something maybe new, or give us feedback if you want to keep it the same. But problems we're all trying to solve, or because a lot of us are either one person or two people or three people, you can't necessarily know everything, and maybe somebody's already solved it. So we were thinking like problems we're trying to solve in everyday use or to improve something we've already done. So if you have ideas for that, let Adam or I know, and we'll add that to the agenda. Also, we need a host for next year for this, so we need a volunteer. Another announcement about lunch, since it'll all be individually billed, be sure to tip your waitress, because we're a big group. So, all right, with that, first on deck is Tyler. He is a graduate of UW-Whitewater with a Bachelor's of Science in Geography and an emphasis in completing certificate classes for both environmental and business, GIS. While at Whitewater, he was a pioneer employee for the university's internship program called the GIS Center. Upon graduation, he interned at the GIS consulting firm for GeoDecisions and was ultimately hired full-time there in their St. Louis office. After 3 years of working for GeoDecisions, he accepted his current position with as the associate planner for Manitowoc and moved back to his home state. While working in Manitowoc, he has been tasked with re-energizing the city's GIS presence and utilizing GIS to enhance economic development throughout the city. Tyler is going to make us all experts here on spatial views and how to relate condos.
All right, can everybody hear me all right? Can talk kind of loud here. Thank you for that introduction, David, and thank you for setting this up. I think it's important that we all get together and discuss our findings in GIS together and talk crap about the county GIS analysts behind their back. This kind of relates to what David had said for looking for tools and stuff that you think other municipalities are having trouble with, and finding a solution to it, an easy solution that we can all share with each other. I looked on the forums. We were having problems with relating our condominiums to the rest of the shapefiles in our tax parcel database, and there wasn't a whole lot out there for responses and answers on the forums. So just kind of put something together here myself. First, just give you an overview of the City of Manitowoc. The City of Manitowoc has 13,407 parcels. It's in the purple there. And we have 155 of them are on our condominiums, so that's all represented by the pink, as you can see. But we have, in our tax records, we have 514 condominium parcel owners. And those people aren't being represented or weren't being represented as a tax parcel unit. They were just one shapefile in our tax parcel shape database. Just a quick, brief difference between the apartments and condominiums. Apartment complexes, many of you know, is owned by one owner and people rent out to them. However, condo parcels are shared ownership. Everybody who lives in a condo gets their own tax information. They all have their own tax ID, and it all gets represented differently in the databases and the assessor tax rolls. Just a little bit of an overview of how we manage our parcel database in Manitowoc. The shapefiles are located in a central geodatabase and underneath the tax parcel layer here. And the assigned pins are inside the tax parcel database. So everything, all of the pin numbers for all the parcel owners in Manitowoc are within this tax parcel database, and that gets joined into assessor databases, and it also gets a shape represented on the previous map that I showed you. Now we have currently, or the way that it was our condo table was without a shape, and this condo relate down here. So anytime a new condo owner would come in or they would change titles, Jill would update the condo relate table and add that owner into there, but it still wouldn't relate back to the tax parcel shapefile. So any changes that were made in the condo relate table would not be affected on our tax parcel shapefile. And our assessor data, which I'll go into a little bit more, is located on a separate Oracle server. So we use that server to do a join and connect all of that behind the scenes assessor data, the addresses, the improved tax value, any other land value that you could think of. That all is in a separate SQL server, and we connect that to the tax parcel layer to help us with to solve problems around the city. So that condo relate table isn't being included in that. One of the main problems is just selecting the shape files on a regular map. If you do an identify tool on the way that it was without that condo relate table being inside the shape, even though this pink one represents our Riverloft condominiums that have about 20 people living in them, it still just shows up as the parent parcel owner. One parcel owner showed up, and there's no other representation for the other owners that are part of that area. So this is just a look at inside the two tables here. We have the tax parcel on the left here, and these are all of our tax parcel IDs, which I'm sure you're familiar with. We use those to make more joins back to the assessor's database, and they're represented with the shape over here. However, in our condo table, and this is where it gets pretty tricky, the condo ID on the right here relates back to the parent condo in here, but this APN, attribute PIN number, is the individual condo owner's number. So these guys all live in the same condominium building, but they all have their own tax attribute PIN number that gets related back to the assessor's database. Now, with this being in a separate table here, it causes a lot of problems when we're trying to send out mailings and grabbing people in a certain amount of buffer area to get their addresses to send out information or meetings that are coming up with the city. And they just weren't being represented, as far as I could tell, for the last couple of years in the city. So basically, just kind of a rough graph here of what we're trying to do is take the parent tax parcel ID, which is represented by a shape, and connecting that with the condo ID, and then duplicating the exact same shapefile on top of itself until all the people that are represented with the APN number are connected and have a place and are geospatially located. It's essentially cloning the parent parcel until everybody that owns part of it has a place in Manitowoc. Now there's some other solutions that seem like they might help at first, and I think that there's a couple different ways to work around this issue. Starting with table joins. A join is just it's a one-to-one relationship. So if you tried to do a join with it, only one of the parcel, it would grab the first APN out of the condo relate table, and that's the last one it would use. It doesn't have the capability to duplicate the shapefiles over and over again. A table join does enable labeling and querying, and you can use symbolization throughout the table join, but essentially without being able to grab and duplicate all the other owners in the condo relate table, it's worthless. There's no use behind it. Now, related tables will take data from all the owners and all the other all the other people who have an APN in that condo relate table. However, there's a lot of limited access for labeling, searching, and querying related tables. The related table basically just refers back to the condo relate table, and that really limits you when you are trying to symbolize the data, or if you're trying to query the database to only take condos out that have so much improved land value, let's say. And the identify tool also just refers you back to that related condo table. And neither of these allows efficient connection to the Assessor database, which is extremely important at this point. The table joins would just allow you to connect to that one that you can join to, and the related table doesn't allow it at all. You can't make a join based off of that. And there is, I have a few notes on, there is no searching allowed in a related table, so you can't, if you're searching for a specific owner name, you can't do that function through the fields at all. So here's our Assessor Se that I've been raving all about. It basically has all the tax data in there, and it's like I said, it's extremely important to it's a huge cog in the city to make everything kind of come together. And this is the parcel ID for everybody, then that includes the condo owners. So all the condo owner parcel IDs that are in this line here don't get represented in our previous model. Here's all of our assessor data. It's really fun to pile through all that. And here's the owner names and owner addresses for mailings in the lot. So now I'm going to kind of introduce the solution to the problem, and this was first brought to my attention at EWOG last year. There was a presentation, and it used this tool to solve a sign problem. It took me a while to kind of put the two together and make it work for condo tables, but it eventually got there. You have to have a spatial database, and so I used, for this I used Microsoft SQL Manager. It's free, online. It took me a really long time to figure out how to download it. I don't have any server management experience at all. It's pretty much all just what I had Googled and looked through online to get it all set up. And that's really where this join has to take place, is on an SDE service. The part that took the most time was cleaning the condo relate table to allow this join to happen. You need to have this primary key. It needs to be unique. So in the tax parcel table, you can't have any duplicates. And there are a few special scenarios in the city where a couple roads that are owned by the city, they share the same parcel ID number. It's rare, but that needed to be taken care of. And then I also had to go through the condo relate table and make sure that those were all individualized as well, to make sure that they could match up well. But really, it's actually pretty neat behind the scenes. You are able to, next one here, you're able to grab exactly this one being the condominium relate table here, and this one being our tax parcel database. You essentially are grabbing the fields and the data that you want from each of them and combining them based off of the common layers. So this would be the condo ID, which represents the parent condo, gets connected to the tax parcel ID in the tax parcel shapefile, and it combines those two and still takes this, the important part is the shape field. That's what ARC uses to create a place in the geospatial world, and do not look into the code behind their shape field, because either encrypted or impossible to read. But just trust it. The shape field does need to be a geometry type, data type, when you send it off to SQL. But that seems to be the case in every scenario that I've seen. So this is my SQL manager that I created. A lot of guessing and testing. It took all of these databases to get it there. But essentially, it takes that. I'll zoom back here. What I alluded to, it finds this number here, and then for each of these, it creates another shape and stacks it on top of it. So as you can see, this is the finalized product here. The shapes for the same Riverloft condominium, after I ran this tool, it all gets stacked on top of each other, and everybody that owns that parcel now or has a piece of that parcel is currently represented in an identified, using the identify tool. You can symbolize differently with them throughout the city. You can, if I wanted to, I could turn the labels on and have everybody's name get labeled on there and shown up, and that it works throughout the city. What it essentially does is creates a view, a magical view in the SDE, and when you bring that view into ARC, it turns it into a shape, and from there you can export it. You can join it to the Assessor Database. You can upload it to ArcGIS Online or your ArcGIS Online server so that data can be represented online. And it also helps with the mailings. So you can do the selections on you can do the buffer selections for mailing lists throughout the city. And that's mainly what we use it for in the planning department. Oh, you can also zoom to the area, which is something you can't do with the Relate. So if you right click and you zoom to it, it'll take you right to the parcel. Just a lot of basic tools in ArcGIS that aren't allowed through the Relate format. So I kind of tied it all together here, and I do have a little bit of time left through a Python script. I do have a little bit of a Python background, but not a heck of a lot. But it would be a lot of work without Python to do. So this data, I don't mind sharing or using my tool. If anybody else is interested, they can have it. But it's just a lot of work to go back to the server and run the view every time that you want to update a new new condominium owner. So let's see. I'm just going to point out the main thing is this SQL View, and it's actually code that's recognized, and it's a tool that's recognized in ARC as long as you're doing all this on a SDE server. This SQL View line here is really what's mainly important. Up here, I just have all of the basic database stuff, and it points to our condo database and our tax parcel database. But this SQL View grabs the information that we need, takes it to, can I scroll sideways here? Oh, shoot. Takes it to the SDE, copies the shape, and turns everything into, and it makes everything match and turns all the keys into a match, and then it takes picks the fields that you want, and it moves them also with the rest of the condominium data that you need and that you want to bring over. So if anybody has any more questions on the Python script, I'd be more than happy to take them through it at the end. But I have a little bit of time left for questions here. If anybody has anything.
Would this free software that you downloaded to do this join not have, you said you had to fix a couple street areas that had the same data.
Mm-hmm.
Would it not have done it at all if it had seen those boo-boos?
Right.
It wouldn't even do the rest of the stuff?
It won't let you use, if it doesn't have a unique field, so basically that field needs to have only one number assigned to it to attach to the condo ID field.
So I guess what I mean is if you had run it and hadn't fixed those first, would everything else have been right but that street?
No,
Or wouldn't
it would
even, it'd
crash,
say,
yeah.
I got, yeah, okay, that's what I wanted to know. It
Yeah.
wouldn't work at all?
No,
you know,
yeah, I'm afraid the spatial view wouldn't work.
Is that because you end up with multiple object IDs in the join, you have to bring in the object ID column?
I think it's actually, and this is just from the programming world, I think it's actually more just because it needs to have that dependability factor on one of the fields. Otherwise, it wouldn't know. If you had a condo in the condo relate table that has 10 condo owners, and then there was 2 tax parcel ID numbers that are the exact same, it wouldn't know which one to send, which shapefile to send those 10 condo owners to. So it would be trying to pick between the one or the two. I think, I'm just guessing, but I think that the server probably or the view needs to have something to depend on to kind of back up into.
So every time you get new tax data, do you have something that runs and fixes those? Or you know which ones and have to go back in and redo those every time you see them?
Actually, we kind of went through the database and were able to eliminate that problem altogether. So I don't believe they're not represented like that anymore. Yeah. Yep.
When you create the view of the new Caulum parcels, is that a separate layer, or do you merge that back into your feature class that has all the other?
That's a great question. And actually, that's something that we have talked about, because this is still kind of new to us right now. And I'll show you if I can get back to our. There it is. Did that pop up? No. Oh shoot. Okay. So is it in? Yeah. So right now I have it as a separate feature class in our database. It's just under the condominiums feature class. We've talked about just changing the script and combining that into the tax parcel. The one problem, and it's not super hard to fix, is that this condominium table also has the parent tax parcel in it. So if I took this condominium and put it in there right now, there'd be 2 of the parents in the condominium. Now it's just a matter of changing the script to yank out anything that is duplicated. We haven't decided if that's the way we want to go. I think for all our purposes, having it as 2 separate things is fine, as long as whoever wants to create a mailing remembers to pull that condo in there, which has already been a problem a couple times. It's like, did you remember to bring the condos in? No, I didn't. So, yep.
How many condos do you guys have?
Let's see, I had the numbers on there. Yeah, we have 155 condominium parcels, and that's all these pink ones throughout the whole city. A lot of them are twindos. For the most part, there's only 2 of them on a parcel, but it's still one person that's not being represented. And then we have a few of them that have quite a few. So it's kind of up in this area. We had a condominium bloom. There's also another interesting problem. Some condos share the streets. They own the street too, and that's separate from them owning the building. So if this is 2 different places in the city, the condo owner owns their property, and they also own part of the street that goes into the parking lot that goes into the property. So that they have 2. I'm still kind of confused on that.
Separate tax things, one for the street, one for their condo?
Actually, they're both the same APN, and that's kind of what makes it hard, because they still get it on the same tax roll. I'm not sure if they're doing it right, to be honest, but.
I noticed in your previous slide you have a dynamic value table. Is that associated with the caption system?
Actually, that was what the solution was before I came to the city. They had previously consulted out to solve this problem, and when that dried up a couple years ago, the tool stopped working, and they hadn't been updating the condos. So I'm not actually sure what that dynamic view. Jill would probably know a little bit more about that than me. I didn't mess with that at all, so she doesn't know any more about it than me.
You said you replicate the parent parcel for each of the unit parcels, and it's an identical shape. Did you look at any solution for creating individual unit spaces that identify the spatial location of each unit?
Just right where it is.
And to take a step further, any solutions for multiple
Heights.
floors?
Actually, no. That's a good idea. But yeah, that's something that we haven't tackled yet. I can see the practicality behind having it at least that way. It would definitely get more confusing with a place like the River Lofts, which has 20 owners stacked so high. But for Twindos, that makes a lot of sense to just kind of split the parcel in half and have one address on one side and another address on the other side. But now we haven't taken a look at that yet. So I think that's probably all the time that I have now. It looks like I might have gone a little over even. So if anybody has any questions or wants to solve this problem, I'd be more than happy to help. I have my card back there, and it's really simple and free. The whole thing was, I didn't pay a penny for any of it. So, well, the city didn't pay a penny for any of it. I don't pay for anything.
Thank you, Tyler.
Yeah.